Welcome to Forum Views, your local magazine show from CavanTV.com, and you're very welcome. Myself, Daniel Downey, and
me, Sheila Riley.
So today, Sheila, who have we got with us?
Well, we start off with Karina Charles. Karina, you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I don't really want to, but I will.
Yeah,
my name is Karina Charles, and I'm living in Belturbet from out the road, and I'm a broadcast journalist at times, and along with this man here as well, we do a wee bit of acting and things like that in the local kind of cultural scene. So I could be found in any position or spot really at this stage.
You spread yourself across the whole county.
The whole county.
Okay. I think you're a familiar face to a lot of people, right?
And a familiar voice.
Yes, I do a bit of work with Northern Sound and read some of the good news stories. I do the news,
Yeah, well, it's all about good news.
It is, yeah. So do that, and that's it's good fun. I do enjoy it, but this is my first time on Cavan TV, so I'm delighted to be here. And
this is an extravagant pleasure for you now, I'm sure.
It is, it's an exclusive.
And our next guest is Fergal McAloon. Maybe you'll tell us a bit about yourself.
I will. As I say, my name's Fergal McAloon. I work for own a company called Demilec, and we do spray foam insulation, which is earth friendly.
Yeah.
Like Karina said, I do a little bit of acting on the side, not successfully perhaps, as some might say, but and I live just outside Butler's Bridge, so
And what you said you do like eco foam, earth foam insulation, that kind of thing. What I think we have some photos here to describe what you do a little bit. Maybe if you want to talk us through what is this you're doing here?
This gentleman
Ghostbusters.
Yes,
Ghostbusters.
This isn't me, no. This is a photograph of a colleague. He's putting on an external insulation, which is going to be an airtight insulation. It's quite a similar material to, say, Kingspan or that type of material.
Yeah.
But it's made from recycled plastic bottles and soy oils and corn oils and other things like that.
Oh, wow.
It's earth friendly as opposed to eco friendly because it's still a plastic, but it is made using the most earth friendly materials we could find.
Well, at least it's reusing the evil stuff that we have.
Absolutely.
What's this here?
This is a photograph of our internal insulation, which is breathable foam. It allows the building to breathe, but still seals it airtight, so that you have no air leakage. So therefore, none of the heat is going to be lost through drafts within the house.
Is this just for private houses, commercial, or does it work for everything? Or?
As you can see here, this is a photograph of a commercial building that's been done, and it works all through the residential market, the industrial market, even the agricultural market, and most commercial buildings. We've done stuff for people like Oxygen Environmental to ensure the airtightness of their buildings because they can be quite smelly. You know, different things like that, you know.
And what are you at here? Is this...
The reason for the suit is because when we're applying it, we use steam to expand it. We don't use any nasty chemicals to expand the foam. So as it's expanding, the little particles can be in the steam, and you don't want to soak it into your pores or in through your respiratory system. But when applying, I can be standing maybe 10 foot away from that person without any respiration or protection, and it'll have no effect. Whatsoever.
Brilliant.
And Fergal, have you any jobs going?
No.
You just want to put on one of those suits.
I do.
You look super.
I can get you a suit if you want me to.
Is that what you went in the fancy dress? Did you see that in Belturbet? Him dressed up in that fancy dress? Stand back, everyone.
Here I come with my gun of foam.
Brilliant. And look, Fergal, it's an absolutely brilliant product. It's environmentally friendly, or reusing. I like the idea of recycling, not just recycling what we have that's pretty wasteful at the moment.
Yeah.
But what do people have to do if they want to get in contact with you?
Well, you can log on to our website, demilec.ie, or you can contact us in our office, which I can give out the number if you wish.
Go
ahead. It's 049 435 0151. But the benefits is not just the insulation, but it's the preservance of the heat in the house. So you reduce the carbon footprint on the environment, the usage of fossil fuels, etc., etc., etc. And most houses, we can save up to 60-70% of home heating bills by installing
it.
So.
In these kind of recessionary times when oil is going to become a premium, let's face it, a product like that is bound to have a lot of interest. People are bound to be more interested in it. Are they leaning a lot more towards...
It is. It's an investment in the home, and it's an investment in the future of the home, because once it's installed, it's guaranteed for the lifetime of the building, so it will never ever change. So once in 100 years, it'll still be doing the same jobs that it'll do today. So I suppose that's where it is. It's going to be more expensive because it's a more expensive product than some traditional insulations like fiberglass, but the savings that it will make in comparison to fiberglass are huge, so it should pay itself back within 2-3 years of
So
it
my
being
grandson
installed.
won't be coming back to your grandson in 100 years going, my eco-foam insulation fall to pieces.
Well, hopefully I'm around to administer the guarantee.
Brilliant. And just give us... give us
The foam will
I'll
still be
preserve
standing,
my-
but many of these houses will have
Yeah.
crumbled
Oh, no.
away.
I could
into
preserve
dust.
myself.
just
in
just
photographs.
a frame of foam left behind to crumble the house. And just give us your website again once more before.
Demilec.ie.
Demilec.ie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to find out about Demilec.ie in the process of the programme, just squint in very closely to Fergal's shirt and you'll be able to see how to spell it. So, on with the show. So what's first?
First up is the soapbox race in Arva. This happened last weekend. Basically, they all built soapboxes. There's the picture from the front page of this week's Anglo Celt. Fantastic picture of airborne soapboxes.
Absolutely.
Look at that action.
They're homemade jobbies, and off they go down the street in Arva. And this year they put in, and you can just about make it out from that photograph, they put in that ramp, which I believe added a certain bizarre dimension and haphazard dimension to the whole thing. It's a great community event. You come from a town that does lots of kind of good community events like that.
Weird original community
I
events.
do, yeah.
And this is really a weird original community event.
They're
isn't it?
great. I mean, I was at one soapbox derby in Ballyconnell a couple of years ago, and they do it as well, and it was brilliant. And the creations, like all of the inventiveness, and there was one guy had grass growing on top of his and a wee structure, and
Only in Ballyconnell.
absolutely. And then of course in Belturbet they had the raft racing,
Yes.
so people built their own rafts, and again people were sitting. They had little canopies, and they were sitting with their having a cup of tea while they were. The rest of them were frantically
what else
rowing
did you
down
do?
the river trying to win the race. But my personal favourite with the Arva Soapbox Derby was the Culchie Cruiser.
Culchie Cruiser.
Yes.
Like, what a name. Brilliant.
What a name. For originality, for the name alone, they
I
should
would,
have got
yeah.
a prize.
Oh, what made
That's
it
done.
was it culty or cultural?
No, I think it was Culchie.
I think it was
a
Okay.
Culchie Cruiser.
Oh, this is pure culture, I think, from start to finish.
I mean, they're
Unashamed.
brilliant events, and they really do get people thinking and creating things, and especially kids as well. You know,
Yeah.
they would have kids, parents maybe, and kids making them together, and then coming out in the day and trying to win the race, and it's good kind of old-fashioned crack.
Isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just exactly what you
Did any
want,
of you
really.
make them when you were kids? Back in the... Well, for me it was the 80s, but I used to make the... sorry, 90s. No, but I used to make them, and great
You
crack.
should
Absolutely
rate that
great
one
crack.
and bring it down to Arva for next year's soapbox
It'd be brilliant.
derby.
I don't think I would fit on it now. It's built, designed for
Could-
4 or 5-year-old me.
Could Demilec come up
Yeah,
with something? I
foam.
can see you out with a foam spray
Squirting
jobby.
everybody.
Yeah.
Like Ghostbusters.
We could squirt the competition.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Don't let them
That's
pass.
It's
definitely
a
the
really
way.
good idea, Daniel.
It's a
Brilliant.
it's a good community. It's a good idea of people coming together like that. Like it's a quirky one that's guaranteed to drag people in, if you know what I mean.
It's
isn't it?
fantastic. It's a great idea, and as Karina said, some of the soapboxes themselves are very creative. The designs in them, you would look at them and you go, "That's nothing like I built when I was a kid."
Yeah,
I couldn't
I
even
know.
imagine building
They've
something
really
like that
come
when I
on
was a kid.
big
Yeah.
steps, I think. Yeah.
Excellent, and it's for a great cause as well. For the Barrettstown,
Yes.
cancer,
Mm.
the facilities there are all free to the children and to the families that use them. So it's a really good
Way of raising awareness
Absolutely,
as well, and
yeah.
having fun.
and
So.
having the fun side
Yeah.
attached to it.
Well, speaking
It's
about
great.
community fun and self-propelled vehicles, there's a new cycle track in Killikeen going in now. 2.5 kilometres of beautiful
is planning
cycle.
to build that, imagine, which would be fantastic.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great amenity for the locality, because like that we're always looking for ideas here in Cavan. It's Cavan's
Yeah.
quite an innovative county, I think, and to have something like this is just brilliant, because tourism, a lot of people come here and they're wondering what can I do, and we've got the boatways, we've got fishing, but to have things like cycling's actually becoming quite popular.
It's
Yeah.
isn't it?
unbelievable.
Yeah,
you
it's
cannot
sticking.
go the roads of this
I
country
don't know if it's
without
the price of fuel,
or
if it's
Probably.
across cyclists.
But-
it's
but-
absolutely amazing.
It is. It's lovely. I mean, it's a great activity. It's great to get out into the fresh air and to enjoy our natural walkways and our natural kind of even the forest, the Quilch and Killikeen. It's
Yeah, it's a
It's a
new way of
win-win.
using Killikeen, because people
Yeah.
don't really, I would go out to Killikeen a good bit myself, but it always strikes me about how underused it is, really. So
Yeah.
I suppose it's another way of getting people back out there,
But
isn't it?
the thing that interested me about it was that it's a family-friendly cycle track, and I was wondering, as opposed to a family unfriendly cycle? Yes. What's that like?
Off-road.
That could be a cycle path.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Family unfriendly. Little pits here with the spikes
Yeah,
coming out of
little
it.
potholes,
Yeah.
just the place. There's like
Oh, is that not the road coming into Kilkenny
That is.
anyway?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
A couple of chicanes just to
maybe it'd be like
throw you off.
crazy golf, you know. where
Yeah.
you're going
Yes.
across, like, different- maybe like the derbies, you could have a ramps and the whole lot. I mean, it could be fun. Yeah.
It's great for the development, as you say, of the park, though, and hopefully it leads to future things
Yeah.
happening in Kilkenny, because it is part of the Peace 3,
Yeah.
process, which is
Yes.
happening all around Cavan and Fermanagh, which is brilliant,
Yeah.
and Monaghan and Leitrim
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah.
And
you
the
know,
Ulster Canal, if that opens as well, doesn't that
That'd
link
be
into
fantastic.
Kilkenny?
Yes, it does
So,
indeed,
you know, that's a
God,
great
potential
bridge.
there is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sure, of course, we're all going to be on our bikes. Let's face it. And I mean, the Celt did a great survey this week of petrol prices
They did.
around
Yeah.
the county. Seamus Enright in there, he did a tour of the county and indeed beyond. He was in Leitrim. I see Oldcastle and Granard and places like that in there as well. He did a tour to find out where to save the pennies. And actually, what they did find out is that you can save up to €8 a fill. So, would you do a tour of the county to save €8 then, Fergal? Let's start with you.
But I think I might if I was in the vicinity, but to go directly to some
Yeah, I
of
was
the places,
thinking that
it's going to
myself.
cost me possibly €10.
€10
Euros.
to save €8.
But I understand it because, any business owner in the county will tell you the fuel costs are probably the largest part of their
It's
budget.
outrageous,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even on top of wages in some companies, and that
Yeah.
that actually does go on to the cost of our commodities that we buy in our shops.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important factor for people to understand that although the fuel cost does affect us all personally, it also affects us in deeper ways that we
We
may
probably
not
It
don't
has a
factor
huge
in
knock-on
actually.
effect.
I
Yeah.
think we have details
list.
there of,
Yeah, there's a
some,
list
of the
of some of the
prices now.
prices.
That's so. Just if I look at that, we've got Arva,
Brady's in
Ballybor,
Arva. 169.9 for
where
petrol.
else? Ballinamore.
Texaco
Yeah.
in Ballybor.
Look, at my
Go
favourite is
in Ballybor,
Cassidy's in Ballyconnell.
But they
one
must
of
be
the
doing
cheapest.
something right in Ballybor because it's Arva, Ballybor
Yes.
as the cheapest ones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's going on in Ballybor?
Well, often you have it in an area, of course, where one guy is at a certain price,
And they
then
all
the
have
rest
to be
of them-
competitive.
Yeah, the rest
You know
of
what I
them
mean?
Yes.
Because, like Cassidy's, I'm laughing because I'm from down that area, so we would often go to the border to get the fuel, I know.
Not anymore
no.
because
We're
this
was
showed
changing.
they did
Yeah.
places in Enniskillen as well.
Yeah.
It showed the difference.
But
Like they were up on 183 and 184
Yeah,
in some places.
yeah. But the thing about fuel is that, a lot of it is in tax. Government taxes, 60% I think is in government taxes. And
Yes.
every day, I think this week in Monaghan, the 54th laundered fuel wash was found. So,
Yes.
it really, 54th this year. It's up actually, I think, on last year already. So you have this thing where now this underground black market laundered fuel, I think in Dublin Port today,
Yes,
20,000
that's
litres
right. Yes,
were
there was 2
discovered.
people arrested
So
there.
what we're doing is
detained
we're
in relation to it.
we're helping the black market to thrive really by keeping the prices going up. And
Well, maybe what we need are alternatives. I mean, we have an possible alternative here. Is that where transport in Ireland is going?
I think I saw that on the road
That's-
to Kilkenny.
Is that not your car?
Damn it, it is. Who did that? I wonder
Oh,
where
that's
that
absolutely
went.
brilliant.
That's foam
yeah.
in the bottom of it.
Yeah,
there.
that's what
Foam keeping it
Fergal
up.
is going to come up with a new option for that. 'cause
It's.
that was just
I think it's a
remarkable.
fantastic idea.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Only a matter of time.
But the
It'd never get an NCT though, would
no.
And that's, damn it, they
Yeah.
always get us,
Yeah.
that's what would ruin it. That's the only thing that would ruin
But the
it.
social side of all of this is, I was speaking to a man during the week who said he'd be an old style calier, going around to people's houses and just calling in for a chat and a cup of tea. This isn't a man who's drink driving or anything. And he said, I can't afford to do it as much anymore. So he would have called to a lot of older people.
Yeah,
people
it's
who might be
that
isolated.
unbelievable. Yeah,
And now
that
we
makes you
can't-
realise.
That
Yeah.
makes you realise, like, this man, he's not a drinker, he's not, what I mean, he's not extravagant, and he can't afford to put fuel in his car to do his Calian or his calling around. And I think that's the sad part of all of this. It's further, like, even myself, I kind of think about where I'm
Yeah.
going to go now. Can I
I
afford
think
the
that's it.
petrol?
It does
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
people have,
Yeah.
think again about their journeys, and
Yeah.
that's sad in lots of ways.
It
as well
is.
as obviously, the pressure that it is putting financially on people. Like I think I said it here last week. We are getting to the stage where people are thinking about can they afford to go to work.
Absolutely.
Like,
Fuel
you know,
runs
yeah.
for the kids and everything, bringing
Yeah.
school runs.
And I'm sure you must be factoring it in when
Well,
you're
absolutely.
doing
When
for
we
business.
every single job that we go to, even to go to price a job, like we do as much work as we can, or legwork as we can on the telephone, because to physically go and visit the job site itself, to come back, and will never take a job on without actually physically visiting the site, you know, because you have to. And it's important, just important information you need to know. But the cost of getting to and from, you know, these jobs has to be factored into the cost of them. And it's again, the cost of any commodity will have that factor costed into it. But I think, as Karina mentioned, the social element of it, people who live in the countryside, I think, are highly affected by the cost of fuel, because if you live in a town or a well-serviced village, you can walk to the shops, you know, you can, or public transport, you can physically get options around.
Are we going back to the days where, you know, something that's convenient is going to be an expedition, you know, a once a week expedition?
But I'm worried about social isolation for a lot of elderly people as well, because I know you've covered on the forum before, you know, the rates of suicide in Ireland and stuff like that, and a lot of that's to do with social isolation, and it's becoming more and more difficult for people to get around, especially those in lower incomes. You know?
It's an excellent point.
We're going to have to move on to our next story, unfortunately.
Okay.
Well, a man has been charged with a €53,000 raid on King's Court Bank. He was allegedly, and I have to strenuously use this word today, allegedly, part of a 6-man gang, allegedly 6 men, not 5, not 7, but 6. And this is the raid which happened recently in King's Court. Very controversial, very dramatic. Really dramatic.
And traumatic, I'm sure, for the staff.
Yes.
Absolutely, very traumatic, right, for people involved.
I remember there was a raid in Belturbet a number of years ago, and one of my friends was a clerk in the bank at the time, and she was quite afraid in the bank for some time after, because just the fear of, will somebody come back, will this happen again?
And did she get any support? You know, you'd expect, you know, a victim of a raid to get some kind of support.
Well, my advice to her was just hand the money over. If there's
it's
a
not
gun
mine.
to your head, and let the guards now run after them, because they don't have a patrol car to get to them.
It wasn't you with the gun, no?
That actually brings us to the next story, which is in relation to the guard, the patrol.
Well,
sorry.
sorry, we have a little... perhaps it was
see.
Used. I don't know, you know, this is... it's out there.
Oh, God. That's what we're missing in our lives.
Yes.
That's what we're missing.
So we're on to the next story you were saying?
Which is, that's just the Garda patrol car crisis in East Cavan. And this was in relation to literally what it says in the tin, the cuts in Garda patrol cars, and that they're reducing... You know, that we won't have as many guards, you know, in patrol cars in the future. And I think there was a case, or I read something in Mayo or some of those places recently, where a woman rang the guard station to report a crime, to report that her house had been burglared, and the guard, she had to go down then and pick the guard up and bring him back to the house so that he could investigate it.
Oh my God.
Do you think it's just the way that it's going?
I mean, I heard a story this week as well about somebody in Cavan, like Coot Hill has lost, you know what I mean, so many towns here have lost now, and a guard had to walk 2 miles out to a funeral to be there to direct traffic without a car himself, and then had to walk the 2 miles back in, or I think a local gave him a lift.
Somebody helped him out.
So I think we should get the Arva Soapbox Derby racers to build Culture Cruisers for all the Gardaí.
Possibly, we have a suggestion
we
here.
We have another one.
Is this the future Gardaí of Cavan, in East Cavan anyway?
Yabba dabba Gardaí.
That is so cheesy.
That would be perfect.
Comment on that.
That was a cheap one.
Did you?
It would be perfect though in East Cavan, wouldn't it?
It is a big worry though, because I mean, like talking about, you know, all joking aside, I mean, if the increase of petty thefts and burglaries are, you know, they're on the rise all the time, and people are going to feel a little less secure in their homes, thinking, well, a guard can't get to me in
station?
10 minutes. Plus, it's not it's an incentive for the robbers as well, because they're thinking, okay, well, a car has to come from Cavan town or wherever. I've got an extra 20 minutes.
Yes,
you know.
I think it does make people think twice about things. It does make them feel a lot more insecure, and they'd be thinking as well about the response time.
Yes, definitely.
Which always is a controversial issue, and now in particular, if they're saying, "My God, if these guys don't even have squad cars, how are they going to get out to us?" You know.
I think, you know, sometimes as you know, as an individual, I feel as though the focus is sometimes on the wrong things. You know, like people want to feel secure and safe, and they want to have a response time. You know, but when you're driving the roads, as I do, you know, quite regularly, there never seems to be a short of Garda patrol cars for tax or for insurance. They all seem to be around. But
are the priorities collecting money or stopping crime?
Well, I think, you know, I think a lot of people's perception in the public eye today is that the guards do a lot of public money collection as opposed to public protection, you know.
But also the guards in the community, they're a very important part. I mean, people, you know, having that kind of link where
Yeah.
you're not afraid of the guards, where it's not like
Yeah.
this foreign entity somewhere over here.
That's
that
definitely true.
You know the guards face to face. They're part of the community. They're trying. They're here. I don't think they're here to keep the peace. I think is part of their constitution is to keep. They're peacekeepers primarily. So it's important for them to be able to attend events and for people to have one-to-one interactions with the Gardaí.
So without the Gardaí in certain areas,
them.
are we hitting like a Wild West lawless?
I mean, where
maybe?
people start to take, the law into their own hands because the guards aren't able to come to their properties.
Yeah.
And we've seen that there's been various cases of that over the years. And maybe that we could be Wild West Cavan.
It's unfortunate for the guards because, a lot of them, in the most part, in fact, the majority of cases, the guards have very good, I suppose they believe in what they do. They know what they want to do. They have very good community relations. They, they have the right idea. They want to do the right job, and their hands have been tied by, I suppose, a lot of bureaucracy. A lot of paperwork. They're not able to go out and actually do what guards used to do when I was growing up. Clip the ear of.
Yes,
of
that's definitely true.
But it does work for more,
It did work to me.
Did you get many clips?
When I got caught stealing, accidentally
Borrowing.
Allegedly
borrowing an ice lolly, and the guard severely and sternly told me off. It put me on the right track, that's for sure.
There you have it.
I was only
And
7.
look where you are
I was
now.
only 7 though.
Brilliant. Well, look, on that note, I think we have to go for an ad break, and we'll be back after this, folks.
Pat Short here. You're watching Cavan TV.
Coming back.
Welcome back to Forum Views, your local magazine show on Cavan TV. Remember, folks, if you want to get on the show or have an issue discussed on the show, contact us on cavantv.com or get in contact with us on drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So we're going directly back into the news, and we're talking about Target.
Yes, the close of Target this week. That was a major issue in Clonus. Yes? Fergal, we'll start with you in relation to this because you're originally from Clonus. So maybe you'll talk to us about Target.
I grew up in Clonus, and Target was always there on the Newtown Road at the end, and it was always an employer. 25 jobs lost in Clonus is a big hit for Clonus because there isn't a huge amount of industry in Clonus as it is. There's been a lot of closures over the years, I think that from as a company director, the owners of Target, should have been a little bit more on the ball with regards to paying their revenue taxes. But the loss of 390 Irish jobs is huge news, especially in these economic times. I think, the cost of revenue alone and lost taxes is going to be massive to the exchequer. And
do you think that, the fact that they're, an Irish company, if you like, 390 jobs, that's a massive amount of jobs. If this was an American company, do you think would it have closed? Would more efforts have been made politically to keep that place open? Do you think, or am I just looking into the kind of the multinational versus domestic too much?
I suppose that there is an argument for that because you see a lot of whining and dining done for multinationals that are that are setting up in the Irish, and a lot of tax breaks, a lot of come over to my IDA building and have it for very cheap rents, etc. All of that. To entice these companies in, and then after 10 years they just leave, okay, there has been economic growth because local people have gained employment, but the profits from those companies don't stay in Ireland,
That's true.
Profits from this company will stay in Ireland, and all of these local jobs and taxes and mortgages to be paid and
And
children
these
to go
people
to
are
school.
shopping locally in Clones or
absolutely.
in Cavan or wherever, and that's the big
That's
thing I
the
think
point,
as well.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think in the newspaper, it said a lot of the men who are working there are middle-aged mortgage holders. Maybe not
And there
skilled
was one of them
in
even
other
who was
jobs.
facing
Yeah.
eviction and everything.
I
Some
know,
terrible
you know.
stories.
Yeah, there's
there,
some
really,
terrible human
really,
stories
really
there.
At the back of it. Now I know these jobs potentially could be saved. The talk today is that that the company will be sold,
Yeah.
or that parts of the company will be sold. So there is potentially a good news story out of it. But
There is.
there's definitely just the element of insecurity of 390 jobs. It's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's one of those things where I suppose Seamus McBreen, the director, who's a Derry Lynn native, and I don't know much about the man at all, but just from reports on the radio and in the newspapers, he's kind of claiming that could I pay, can I pay this much? He said that he's paid €1 million in the last 6 weeks, and that he will pay the remainder of, not maybe all at once, but that the revenue won't work with him. So I don't know what the truth is here, but this thing of surely there has to be a way of working with these companies, maybe giving them a slap in the back and just trying to keep the local people
That this
employed.
is the nuclear option.
Yeah, this is kind of
essentially,
seems to be like swipe it off, you know what I mean? But it's the thing for the hopefully that the jobs can be saved, whatever way it goes, because they need these people in Clones, really need them, and we need them as a local economy to spend in our shops
We all need them.
and in our pubs or in our restaurants or wherever, because no jobs means less money to spend and more money for the taxpayer to pay out in social welfare.
But that's the thing, it just seems like there's so many people just being shifted onto social welfare, and it's becoming, we have a little picture there of a potential social welfare situation in Ireland.
I don't know where you dug that up from. Oh my God.
Himself.
You know it. But no, it's a serious, the whole thing of job creation, where you have fiscal injections into the economy, won't work unless you have actual job creation strategies.
Now, of
There's
course,
a
the
big
other side
difference
of it
in the
is
two.
if there's an issue with the revenue, that affects us all, because the revenue is what's supporting everything else.
Yes.
The revenue that comes in.
The side of the revenue is that the revenue commissioners did issue a statement on this, and they said that they can't be used as a loan facility or banking facility, and that's acceptable and understandable. The taxes have to be paid, but when it puts people on the welfare system and cuts taxes from the system, you have to think, where's the balance?
That's the other side of the
common
coin,
sense sometimes doesn't seem to come into a lot of these
No.
decisions. It's the bureaucracy and the paperwork and the red tape, and just if you stood back and just looked at it from
It
common
makes no sense whatsoever.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
and that seems to be the thing that infuriates people as well.
That's a good point. We need to
Yeah.
move on now. And if there's a recession, there surely has to be a debate about abortion. So the clergy stands up to voice its intent to lobby TDs in relation to abortion, and this is in relation to Cardinal Sean Brady said this week, and he provoked Pat Rabbitte to come back out and say that he did not want the church to be dictating to TDs. He didn't want to go back to this. So stay out of debate on abortion cardinals. This is allegedly what Pat Rabbitte was saying.
It's an interesting debate. I mean, well, from 2 points of view, the abortion element of it is interesting, but also the church-state relationship doesn't seem to be as it was back in the Dev days, does it?
I think it's even in the last decade, it's gone from
even in this last government.
Absolutely,
yeah.
I think Pat Rabbitte has a fair point. The church should stay out of political debates, just like the politicians should stay out of church debates. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
When anybody discusses abortion, it's a very emotive issue.
Hugely,
It carries so many connotations with it. In so many cases, you can justify it. In other cases, you can say,
forgive the pun, but is it, just to play the devil's advocate? Is it is it kind of an issue which does have commonality between politicians and the clergy? The clergy see themselves as the moral speakers for the country in some cases. So
well, I think Pat Rabbitte was doing the equivalent of Michael D. Higgins last week with the smackdown for the Tea Party.
Yeah.
He was doing the smackdown for the
On
Cardinal.
clergy,
Absolutely. Well, I think it's an issue that really has to be debated and in a grown-up fashion, you know what I mean, taking away the political side of it and taking away the moral side of it, and actually just talking and educating us all about what is abortion. It's a taboo subject, we don't talk about it. How many hundreds of thousands of ladies leave Ireland every year?
4,000 apparently.
4,000 to go to England.
Although numbers are dropping.
Absolutely, and it's not to say I'm kind of quite neutral on it.
Throwing it out,
Yeah, but I think it's something that I think there should be education within even our schools, secondary school systems for young women and men. What is abortion? abortion, talk about it and let people, it's a personal choice at the end of the day.
But again, from a personal point of view, it is a personal choice. But I wouldn't be impressed with, this is my own personal view, with clergy lobbying my representative in the Dáil on an issue that I feel strongly on, so...
Do you think, though, that this church now sees an opportunity to kind of, in a way, sort of get back some of their moral high ground, if you like? What do you think about?
I think it's hard to say. I think the church have lost a lot of morality in the last few years, and especially Cardinal Brady, in the way he handled the child abuse, claims, and from the point of view of this issue and this specific issue, I think Corinne's absolutely right. In a way, the church is right. In a way, and I mean in terms of holding a referendum.
I think a referendum.
But the referendum should be very open. It shouldn't be just should there be or shouldn't there be abortion in any case. It should be should it happen in a particular case, if a particular as in the case of the X case, that thing. There has to be limits, I think, set on it if it was to become a legislative thing in Ireland. But there also has to be, realistic reasons why it should be allowed to be something that is a legal entitlement for somebody.
I mean, the church in itself, has a point, and I don't disagree with it. And I know there's this thing in the local papers about the local clergy rallying in behind Cardinal Sean Brady, and of course they will, because he's a Cavan man. And there is that big boys club, and I feel that once you have a name on any institution, then you have to protect it, and it needs to be seen to be doing something. And
that's probably what he was out to do, in that he was out to
And equally, there are a lot of people, a lot of Catholics in Cavan and countrywide who really are anti-abortion and feel it is wrong, morally wrong. And you can't say to them, you're wrong, because are they or are they not? So that's why I think there needs to be grown-up discussion and debate, and let everyone have time to mull over it and think about this issue.
Karina, I'd love to think that was going to happen.
That would be fantastic. We have a small clip here, just kind of encapsulates back in the old days when the church did dictate. So it's the old Crusades.
Yeah.
Don't open that can of worms.
So it's is that the way that the more vehement advocates would want it? Or?
I kind of feel strongly about this, I suppose, maybe being a woman as well, and feel, not that gives me any more authority than the man, because oftentimes within the issue of abortion, a man is his opinion is neither taken maybe or neither asked for. And I think that the men need to have some rights within it as well. But I think that, for so long we were women especially were ostracised from society. If they became pregnant out of marriage at a young age, and then we had the situation where they were put in the laundries, the Magdalene laundries, and the children were taken off them.
The scandal for that is still going on.
Absolutely,
we're still seeing the repercussions of
and
that.
The hurt of that is still so strong. And so now we have the church. It's kind of trying to modernise a little bit, but now it's coming out. You know what I mean, and saying you're not allowed to have abortion. So are women no longer going to be?
Is it a Windscale to Sellafield kind of thing?
I think it's very important to live in the present day as opposed to live in the past. Because we could look at the church and say, look what it has done in the past, and you could go back centuries and go through, as you say, the Crusades. But it's brought a lot of good to the community as well. People of faith. It helps them through difficult situations.
It's a community.
It's absolutely a community, and in terms of parish, parishional activities, etc. like that. The church has been very good, and in a lot of cases, it's there's been bad coming from it as well. But the political structure, you could argue the same. The social structure, you could argue the same. But we have to have a debate as it is 2012 today, based on today and the facts of today, not what it has been.
And information as well. That's the key, I think.
Right, folks, you heard it first on Cavan TV. That's what we need and that's what we want. Okay. So moving on to the next story. Sheila, what's on the next one?
The EU warns the government over the need to reform the welfare system, and this is an article from The Times, I think that article is from. So basically the EU is wagging the big finger, telling us we have to get ourselves in shape. I think they're looking at things like with property tax is one of them, and that was the most controversial issue this week, of course. And then, of course, they have things like that. We were talking about this earlier about the disincentive, removing the disincentive for people to work, if you know what I mean, in terms of welfare payments.
We have a small clip there. Noonan property tax. No actual plans yet. Fully constructed by December. Does Ireland actually need guidance from Europe as to how to structure itself? Because we don't seem to have a very good long-term strategy, do we? And when I say we, I mean the government.
No.
I think there could, for me, I think the political system has been on the wrong path for a long time. You know, it's not just in the last 5 years since the whole, you know, financial crisis. It's been a lot longer than that. You know, two-party system, not enough public representation or public debate on subjects. You know, the real world doesn't seem to be, you know, the same as the political world. And you know, for me, when you're talking about widening tax bands, bringing lower paid people into the taxation system, it's a bit scary, you know, when you have people already struggling to pay their, you know, their fuel in their car tax, their
property,
you know, their insurance, their everything.
Well, especially when people are still a little bit, like the common person, still a little bit bewildered as to where their tax money is going. So, for example, we have a small clip here. Is that where it's going?
There's no possible way that it's going towards services, because we all pay for our bins. We all pay for our water. Septic tank charges are coming. You know, there are no services being provided. You know,
our
even
hospitals
you know,
are being slashed.
cuts. You know. You know, I've worked in business for a while, and I've worked in other industries as well, but, you know, I find it laughable when I hear them talking about government cuts to spending, when there is absolutely nobody within the government that says, run this as a business. You know, let's put somebody in here, in this department, to cut the costs in terms of, I know for a fact that there are councils out there, departments within councils that get a set budget. And by the end of the year, if there's any surplus, they go on a splurge.
Oh yes, because we all know this, because if they don't spend that money, they won't get the
reduction next year.
And I also know that when they go to buy things like advertising, it's full rate card. I know when they go to, you know, I as a company, when I go to an advertiser, I start negotiating the rate card price, you know, and I will get, in some cases, up to 50% off. Why is there not somebody in the government doing that, you know? It's beyond crazy to me.
It's the lunacy again. I remember hearing a story about somebody who was in the HSE, and they were a care worker, and they had to assist somebody to, say, an appointment of some sort. But whatever happened, the person had to get a taxi, because you had to do it this way. You couldn't bring them in your own personal car. So the care worker then ended up paying for a taxi to bring the person to, say, let's say Ballygymstuff or Mullahorn or wherever, and then drove behind them in their own car. So they paid the taxi rate and they put petrol, which was probably expenses. It's this kind of lunacy that sees all of our money wasted time and time again.
There is enough money in this country to pay all of our debts, to fix everything and provide services if it was managed properly.
If it was
the wastage,
absolutely managed. And this property tax that's going to come in, you know, is it going to be based on square footage? Is it going to be based on the value of the property?
I think the fear factor in relation to property tax is major, because people just don't know what.
Well, I used to be an auctioneer up until 2 years ago. I used to run gun auctioneers in Monaghan, and I know for a fact that people who bought houses in the last 10 years have all either paid VAT or stamp duty on it. You know, when you include it, you could be talking at 16-17% on top of whatever it is. On the value of the property. You know, if a house in Dublin is worth 300,000, a house in Cavan is worth 300,000, is it going to be paying the same? But there's going to be it's going to be a tiny house.
And see, you can understand why the people in Dublin are angered by the notion of what they're talking about, because they're saying, well, our houses are worth more. So you know, as you say, the house in Dublin is worth probably 400,000 or 500,000 maybe in their heads, and our houses are probably worth about 40,000. But you know what I mean. So that you can see why it's unfair in their mind. You can see where they're coming from.
On the flip side of that, a 2,000 square foot house in Cavan might only be worth, say, 250,000, where a 2,000 square foot house in Dublin in the right district could be worth 2 million. You know, so like, you know, again, it can't just be on square footage.
It can't be a flat thing, because I mean, it's so, the whole thing is so diverse and so intricate. But talking about the welfare again, another thing that's been talking about is this maybe the disincentive to work when you're on the social welfare, maybe getting social welfare and getting rent allowance. And of course, it's a nice position to be in if you can live off it. If you're not, if you're a single person maybe or something like that, and you're getting it, why would you work in ways, you know? And the thing, like personally, I have been on social welfare at various times, and I'm sure I've worked freelance, so it's with the nature of the job. When there's work, I'm grab it, and when there isn't, then I struggle. But the thing is that, you know, we need to look at ways of trying to encourage people. You know, this thing of having to be on the social welfare for a year to get back to education allowance. When you're on it 3 weeks, if there's a course, why not support somebody to take it?
While they're still probably enthusiastic,
there are very few
when you haven't got caught up in like the I know myself, the first few weeks, if I'm out of work, 2 weeks, I'm nearly embarrassed to walk up the street because I don't want to be seen not working. But the thing being that after a few weeks, you kind of become a little, it goes off you, and you start to just go, oh, you're okay, sure, I'm not working. And then your motivation and your drive, your self-worth, everything starts to go down.
It's all of that. It's not just the financial end of it, it's every aspect of it. affects every aspect
Absolutely,
of your personality, literally.
Everything,
and,
And I mean,
Yeah.
and people, a lot of people want to work, and a lot of people who think they don't want to work really do probably want to do something, but want to be encouraged,
They just need a bit of
supported,
motivation.
and told that yes, you can do it.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
you have the skills to do something. You are a contributor to our society.
It's also
Well,
you know.
we're going to have to move on to the next
Yeah.
story.
Okay.
Sorry,
That's
we're running a bit tight on time
Yeah.
at the moment. But the next story we're moving on to is perceptively
Yeah.
a hard-working people, the Germans.
It's
The
kind of
Times have
related,
done
really,
a running German-Irish perspective
Yeah.
throughout the week, and it's been pretty interesting. German perceptions of Ireland this week's Times: 60% identified us as having countryside and 20% as alcohol and pubs as our defining characteristics, according to a survey. So
But don't
we have
forget the 11% who mentioned Kerrygold butter, which
Oh,
has
of
been
course.
an absolute
Very important.
triumph in marketing for
Kerrygold.
Well, if we could get the tourism department here in Ireland, could
Yeah.
get some of the guys in the Kerrygold marketing department on
Honest
their
to
team,
God.
Yes.
you know, that just shows the power of good marketing
Yeah.
and what it can do. I mean, I think it's quite interesting with the greenery and the countryside, but what's also interesting is in the report in the Times it said alcohol and pubs came a poor second, which is suggesting that, you know, we want to be seen as pub going, alcohol,
Yes.
maybe drinking,
Yeah.
but we do. You know, there's a little part of us that like the crack and the character.
Mm.
Yes,
Sits up at the
yeah.
pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that's part
Yeah.
of the whole character of the Irish people, you know.
Yeah.
Even us ourselves,
Yes.
we yearn for when we go out.
Yeah.
Where's the crack tonight? You know,
Yeah,
where
you know,
happening,
where are we
yeah.
going to have?
That's that's
you know,
essential Irish character.
absolutely,
Is,
and-
look at the Fla, for example. It was mighty crack. You
Yes,
know.
and you know, okay, but I think that, you know, the Germans, you know, in fairness to the Germans, perhaps, you know, if another country had been surveyed as opposed to Germany, we might have been seen as more alcohol in because the Germans are quite good drinkers.
Yeah.
Of course, they're the October.
So you think everything is relative? Like.
But I mean,
Yeah,
there,
absolutely, you know,
we
they
had
can't
feedback
look
as
at
well
us.
from Irish and Germany as well. There's a little bit of a clip
Yeah.
there from. So the Irish and Germany refused to look back with harshness on economic problems at home.
Yeah.
A lot of Germans are looking at harshness to Ireland and saying, it's a periphery problem. You know,
Yeah.
it's Ireland and Greece and the pigs are causing all the problem. You know, but the Irish in Germany are trying to spread a message saying that, you know, it's not that bad.
Well,
You know, it's
I think it's really
don't blame
interesting
us.
as well that the Germans, only 1% of them, I think, mentioned Ireland's economic. You know,
Yes, I
how-
was amazed at how
But I
few
mean, the
that
other
was, so-
99% must be thinking we're economic egots.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because
but still they didn't.
I know when I've been abroad, the rare times I've been abroad in the last few years, where people are going, "Oh, Ireland, you're from Ireland. Isn't that the country that's going mad
Yeah.
building all them houses and nobody
Yeah.
lives
How are
in
you
it?"
able to afford to leave the country? So that place
And
is
we're just
broke.
seen a little bit like, you know, twits, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
So
Quite
But I
mad.
suppose we, from a national
we are.
perspective, we probably looked like twits. Yeah.
We
But
do.
this is again the power of
Yeah.
marketing. You go back to that Kerrygold, you know,
Yeah.
the world news
Yeah.
has been Ireland's boom, or, you know, or bust,
Mhm.
then, you know, boom to bust, and it's all because of the property market.
Yeah.
You know, if all of the good news of Ireland was so well publicised around the world, you know what I mean, and as well as the bad news has been,
Yeah.
then maybe we would be known
Yeah,
for
maybe-
all of the different things that are
Maybe
going on.
maybe more people would come over next year for the gathering. You
Absolutely.
know,
Yes.
Yeah.
potentially.
Absolutely.
I mean, that seems like it's, you know, I don't know very much about it, but I'm hearing a lot about it.
Yeah,
and they're
starting
talking,
to
you
hear
know,
a bit now.
And
about
hopefully, you know, that at least Ireland are starting to say, well, look, we have to look at different avenues to explore to
Yeah.
try and get
Yeah.
people in here. I mean, it was interesting to see that, was it 16% of Germans have been here and less are thinking of
I
ever
was
coming.
Yeah,
amazed at how few
A
Germans
few.
have been here actually. 'cause
Absolutely.
It seems
As
to me
opposed
like
to
a lot
the
of Irish
huge
people have
percentage
been
who've been
over
to
there.
Germany. Yeah.
But it does
Yeah.
seem to me like loads of
But
people
the
from Ireland,
percentages,
over in
again,
Germany.
is a little bit of a distortion because 16% of the German
It's-
population.
it's-
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good
Yes,
point.
that's the fair
Yes.
Well, actually,
that's a very
speaking
good
of
point.
perceptions, maybe this is
The voice of
possibly our perception of Angela Merkel. There she is there.
Dancing.
Dance, my pretties, dance.
Yeah.
Yes, she
True.
is. Well, I mean, she's the boss.
Yeah.
I mean, during the Euros, I remember seeing she was at one of the Germany games, you know, and everybody was kind of looking at her going, is she real? You
Yes,
know?
Yeah.
She's
I
really
know.
seen as this
The
robot
first
type
Yeah.
figure,
emperor
isn't
of
she?
Europe kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, when you think of Germany, what do you think? You know, you do think of like kind of maybe, you know, the schnitzels and the beer. And Angela Merkel is up
Angela
there, I
Merkel,
think, with
she
the
is
top
there.
things. You know, the war and stuff is starting to kind of
The Angela
almost
Merkel
recede.
t-shirt,
A
straight
little-
flat.
All she's
I
missing
think
is a
Angela
handlebar
Merkel-
moustache.
Angela Merkel.
Like Bismarck,
Yes.
the Iron Chancellor.
I would like to see that.
She's a female
Excellent.
clone of Bismarck. That's what she is.
You heard it
Um,
first on Cavan TV.
So we're going to go for a quick ad break right now, folks, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Cavan TV. You're watching Forum Views, your local magazine show covering all the hot topics from the national and local papers, with myself, Daniel Downey, and
Sheila Riley.
And today we have Karina Charles and Fergal McAloon in with us, and we're discussing a few of these hot topics.
So obsessed now. He can't stop himself.
So let's launch straight back into it. New price register to be used to set property tax bills based on house apartment sales. We touched on this in a previous story. So
will they actually get a price register? Will they be even able to get any sort of register together? They can't even get the household
households to put in their own valuation, really.
Yeah.
And then if you know you don't give wrong figures, but I mean it's going to be very hard.
My 350,000 house is actually a €100 barn.
Yeah.
But who as well? Like, I mean, who is going to go around and check out these things? Do we have to pay out of this little pool of money that we're going to get now? Do we have to pay people to go around and police this?
Yeah.
Check up on it, compile the reports, and you know the way the government are with reports. They love to write reports about reports and reports about the reports about reports. So I don't know if
and
this
the preliminary draft reports and the post-production reports.
Absolutely.
But there's no doubt that it will.
Can you tap into your past experience as an auctioneer just in
Ah.
relation to this story, just in relation to the idea of the price register and people realistically, you know, like will people are going to self-assess the houses? So let's face it, everybody's houses. We're back to the 30 grand houses, aren't we?
I can't see it being based on self-assessment. I imagine they will be talking to the professional bodies like the Irish auctioneers and.
So is it a cha-ching for the auctioneers?
No, I don't think it'll be a cha-ching. I think they'll be looking for an average price, and you can give that as an auctioneer. You have historical data based on, and this is how you, as an auctioneer, you can come about your valuations. And sometimes, as an auctioneer, we have to value stuff, say in probate from 5-10 years ago. You have to use historical data. So, you know, it is something that will come in. There's no doubt about it. There's, you know, when you talk about a tax coming, it's coming. You know, how fair is it going to be? What way should it be? It's going to be difficult to say. I think if it's going to come in, it should be based on value and square meterage.
Okay.
If it's going to be if it should be a combination.
But if you get your eco foam in your house, then at least your fuel costs will be down.
Yes.
And hopefully you'll save the price of your property. But like every tax we know, have you ever seen a tax go down?
No, it doesn't go down.
It always grows.
And that actually brings us on to the next story, which you just talked about fairness there, and about the cuts of the HSE. And I mean, this is from the front of today's Times. HSE cut to home care service provokes furious reactions, needless to say. So this is basically where the HSE, in light of its 265 million deficit, they have now done. They have to basically introduce, I think it's 100 million plus cuts this year, and that includes 600,000, I think, hour cut. Likely to home help, things like that. A €10 million reduction to special needs assistance. Really, it's the carers, the disability.
It's really targeting the vulnerable again.
It's those, and I think they're hitting drug charges as well. But that's the kind of people are sort of looking. That's an aside, if you like. Yeah. People are more angered about the carers.
It's starting to become. We're almost starting to get used to this kind of.
That's
story.
The worst part of it.
And we're starting to see like cuts to the domiciliary payments for parents of kids with disabilities, and we're kind of starting to become immune to all these stories because it's happening so much. These things have been taken away. This has been taken away. Like you see, carers are the unsung heroes in Ireland. I feel my mother was a carer for my grandparents, who were her parents-in-law, and she kept them at home really until as close to the end as she could. And I mean, the savings that the government make from carers, and the carers love their
charges,
or their mother or their daughter, and they want to be able to help. And all they're asking for is a little bit of extra support, be it a couple of hours respite. Like, people are at cracking point with all of the cuts that are going on, and now this is just a further, you know, it's like a hammer and just really pushing these people.
Is this the straw that breaks the camel's back?
I absolutely believe that it's one of them, certainly, or it's possibly close to the one. I think that, you know, it's frontline services, it's immediate, it's the vulnerable, it's every service that shouldn't be cut that's getting cut.
And the ones that are not being cut. It's a real unfair. There's a real element of complete unfairness.
Absolutely.
And of course the person behind it all is Minister
he
for
can't
Health.
be found. Oh, there
he
is.
He was
there
this evening. I heard him on the radio on the way down. So he had come out of hiding before the end of today, Minister Riley.
But he did do a very snappy disappearing act immediately immediately after.
Oh, it was
and it's the same as
disgraceful,
same as Phil Hogan, who disappeared during the summertime there.
Yeah.
It's just
Is it good enough?
It's
I
not
mean,
really.
It's
they're
not
the minister. That's your job.
I mean, we're human. We want a roof over our heads. We want education. We want a job to go to. We want to be able to feed ourselves and our kids, educate our kids, and have somewhere that if we're not well, that we can
security.
go. And now we're finding, like, I mean, in this region alone, in I think in this region there's been the highest number of people on trolleys for many consecutive days all across the country. You know what I mean? We're seeing 32 and waiting in Drogheda. We're seeing 30 in Cavan, 20 in Cavan.
Well, we
Now, there
have
are
a picture
there are
here
huge
of a
reductions.
couple of people who waited just too long. Straight from them.
Your local hospital.
This is terrible.
This could be what we're going to see in the future. Absolutely.
Seriously, it was like when they downgraded Monaghan Hospital, and then they were going to have to travel from all parts of bad roads in Monaghan. That road from Monaghan to Cavan is treacherous.
Yes.
And then you have somebody trying to get in within the golden hour to the hospital with somebody with a heart attack. How many deaths have we
And
had
then
on the roads?
when the golden hour when it didn't suit them, when it was going to be too long, we started to hear that the golden hour, it's not really an hour, it's not really that important, don't worry about it. Yet the golden hour had been drummed into us.
It's important. It's important in most other parts of the world, but not in Ireland.
Apparently not. No, when you're coming down the high roads and by roads, all those potholed roads between Monaghan and
and the people that deliver the services in the HSE are some of the unsung heroes.
They're
the ones that do the work, the ones that are in the administration, the ones that are in the the consultancy.
There are 110,000 people working in the HSE.
Yeah. How many
And there's around 18,000 administrators within the HSE alone. Out of that number, that is preposterous.
We need the Grim Reaper to go in and just kind of but then we cut them out and then we're putting them on social welfare as well.
What's all the cycle?
I don't
But
believe
do
in
you
cutting
free
them
up
out, but
some of
I
the
do
money
believe, absolutely free up the money, or cut the administrator staff.
Well,
Yes.
when Minister Riley was out today, what he did say was that 70% of the HSE budget is spent on wages.
Yeah.
And that they have cut everything they can cut in the services end, which is that other 30% block. And now he is going for the wages,
But why would you
which
cut
would
in
mean he'd
services
have
before
to,
wages?
Well, because of Crow Park.
The Crow Park agreement,
So
don't
and now he has Crow Park in his.
The Crow Park is a real contentious issue. It's an issue that has not gone away, will not go away, if it's I think it's something that has to be looked at. It cannot be swept under the carpet. The public sector and the private sector have to be able to suffer together, and I'm not saying that the frontline services, the people that deliver them, are not doing a great job, or the guards are not doing a great job. They are doing a great job.
They are, and they're stretched, and it's nearly a vocation for these people at this stage.
It's a very stressful environment they work in.
Because they're not getting the money for it.
It's a very stressful environment they work in, so it should be rewarded. But
I mean, when we look at the
wages are huge.
Wages are huge, but just going back even to the thing of cuts and that kind of thing. When you see, like in Ireland, we've become so passive, really. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You see all of the other European countries taking to the streets, making their voices heard. We have become quite.
Sure, it's grand if we have to.
Lazy, apathetic.
Yeah, a little bit.
Pathetic, yes.
Pathetic.
You got it.
Just pathetic. But I mean, like when we seen when it was a threat to the pensions and the older people, I just thought that was the most beautiful thing. It was trying to show us younger people, look at,
this is how you do it.
This is how you do it. Take to the street in numbers. When we were just talking about the Monaghan Hospital, and I know a guy down in Monaghan, Paddy McMahon, who was a tireless campaigner for that, and he was trying to get people out, and he couldn't understand why Cavan weren't supporting Monaghan because it was going to affect their hospital. He wanted everyone to get together. And to be honest, Coronation Street was on, or Stennis was on, or something else better.
People couldn't get the time off work, and they need to go to work to be able to pay these taxes.
And
the few
even on a Saturday, the rate they're coming in now.
It's very easy to keep the people subdued if you put enough pressure on them. It is. It's very
and keep them in fear. Because if we go out, am I going to lose my job? Maybe I shouldn't say anything, and things are going to be okay.
Speaking of going out, that brings us to our next story: going out into orbit. It's a terrible link to a story, but I had to try and move us along somehow.
I'm embarrassed for you.
That's been two.
My last show now.
I'm just going to dig my way out from behind.
Neil Armstrong, he, the man who allegedly set foot on the moon first.
Fergal McAloon, we want your thoughts.
Fergal, reflect on this now.
I think that it was a wonderful thing that he did, and
conspiracy theory. Is this photograph fake? Is this photograph fake?
Come on, Fergal.
That's a great studio.
I call that. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, you
so.
were saying at the beginning, before the show.
This
I'm
is
going to drop in it now.
the apparently.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
You
to say
Allegedly.
anything
It
before
was an
the-
alleged statement.
It's a alleged statement that may have been made.
There's no wind on the moon, and the flag is fluttering in that
But
photograph.
they must have starched it before they went to the moon. That's all I can say.
Well, I was saying at the,
That's no crack.
at the Paralympics.
Space
they obviously
wind,
didn't.
space dust.
No, I was saying at the Paralympics when they were raising the English flag, they obviously didn't start it because there was no wind and it just went like this. It was like a limp.
Oh, how embarrassing!
God,
How
that was the
embarrassing.
end. That
Poor
was just-
Queen was there wanting to see the
Yeah.
flag.
But you know,
Well,
you can-
did they not learn from the Americans and
Well,
start
this
the
is-
flag
yes,
before
that's-
they went
yeah.
to the
but
moon?
you can, in a way, compare man walking on the moon with the Olympics in a way because it's the inspiration
Yes.
to achieve. It's
Yeah,
the inspiration
yeah.
to drive something better from better technologies. You know, would we have the technology we have
No.
today if Neil Armstrong hadn't
Yeah.
allegedly walked on the
Imagine,
moon?
imagine children though who watched and heard about that from since that happened
Oh,
in the
yes.
60s, right
Yeah.
down
It's an
today.
iconic period.
All the way.
It's an
to think
iconic
that somebody
moment.
walked on the moon
Yeah.
is one of the most fascinating
Yeah.
things for
Absolutely.
anybody to,
Yeah.
to even imagine.
But you know, I was just researching some of the different papers and stuff, and you see all the articles about Neil Armstrong. But I think one of the funniest one I saw was the Onion. Holy shit, man walks on the fucking moon. And Neil Armstrong's historic first words were "holy living," and there's the fluttering
There's the
flag.
fluttering
oh, that's the
flag.
flag.
Oh my God! Now I see it.
That's
must
the
have
fluttering
They
something-
flag.
starched it and made it flutter at the
Yes.
same time. These people are
Amazing.
actual
No,
geniuses.
No,
Amazing.
it's got demolytic. What is
Yeah.
it? The foam.
It's got
It's
foam
starched on
behind
the
it.
back. It
Yes.
actually, yeah.
It's a structure that was created.
Oh, was it?
Get to one last bit.
Thanks.
They actually flew you all the way up
yeah.
to the
Foam.
studio to do that.
Yeah, to the moon actually.
The ultimate moon. Oh yeah. Oh yes, obviously the moon.
But then there was the interesting, the little when Neil Armstrong went out and he said, "This is one step
One step for
One
man.
small step for man,
One
one
giant-
giant leap for mankind.
But then everyone was saying, "Isn't it the same? Should he have said for a man?" Do you know that kind of thing? I
Yes.
always thought that was quite interesting. Not that it really matters if you're standing on the moon. What would any of us say?
Well,
Yippee!
Yeah, mankind is mankind.
Look at me, mommy.
Yeah.
It was very calm actually for somebody who's just landed on the moon.
Yeah.
Very calm.
Possibly not real though.
It's possibly the conspiracy theorists may be
But
right.
seemingly-
I'm still my head's still in the moon.
But I read
that he
somewhere
walked on the moon.
that when they were landing, some of their automatic things that were bringing them down to land started to malfunction, and they were going to go into this big crater. And he actually had the composure, and he was supposed to be an amazing man. He took the manual controls off Buzz Aldrin and went. Flew it in with 20 seconds of fuel left in the tank.
He deserved to be the first man to
God,
walk
yeah,
on the moon.
yeah.
That's
so
pretty extraordinary.
Well,
I
we
think.
have 2 minutes left, and just a very quick. What are you doing this weekend?
I'm hoping to go to the electric picnic.
Oh, brilliant!
Phew.
And failing that, maybe I will go to the
The social in,
Go to
the senior social club.
hey, the senior
The
social
senior
club.
said they don't want you because
Yeah.
you're their second choice.
And don't forget,
Off
folks,
you go.
it's on tomorrow, and it commences with mass at noon. Very good, very good.
I want to go to the Skittles walk at the tank on Sunday because I want to see Skittles walking. I think
And
this
the-
will be good.
Oh my God, is it
This is where
actually
you
Skittles
see-
walking?
The
It
tank
says
is a great
Skittles
pub
walk.
too, though.
The tank is a
It's one of
legendary
those pubs. It's one of those pubs.
and I'm going to go to the cake sale so I can eat loads and loads of nice cake.
Oh, and not
Oh.
feel guilty because
And
it's
not
for
feel
charity.
guilty.
Well, I was
Very
going to do
good.
that as well. But don't forget, Cavan TV is going to Electric Picnic as well. Paul Cox will be reporting from it. So Fergal, say hello and get on there. And folks, that's all we have time for. Fergal McAloon, thank you very much for coming on. Crean Charles, thank you very much.
you for having me.
And Sheila Riley, you are great again this week.
Oh.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank
Folks,
you.
remember, get in touch with us on cavantv.com or drumlinmedia@gmail.com, and check us out next week again for more Forum Views. Bye-bye.